At Carvana, we're in the business of driving you happy. And with the widest selection of used cars under $20,000, you're bound to find a car that'll put a smile on your face. Carvana gives you control by letting you customize your down and monthly payments. You can browse tens of thousands of cars online to find one within your budget, and you won't get surprised with any bogus fees. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to shop for a vehicle. Carvana, we'll drive you happy. Availability may vary by market.
On today's Smart 7, the Cabinet Office takes legal action, the US avoids debt catastrophe and lots more. It's Friday the 2nd of June, it's National Fish and Chips Day, and happy birthday Zachary Quinto.
The Smart 7. It's news, but not the news.
Following a week-long standoff, the Cabinet Office announced on Thursday it'll be taking legal action against the COVID inquiry to avoid giving over Boris Johnson's WhatsApp messages. The public inquiry was set up 2 years ago to investigate the government's handling of the pandemic, and ministers had until 4 p.m. on Thursday to provide unredacted copies of the former PM's WhatsApp messages, diaries and notebooks from a 2-year period starting in 2020. But when the deadline hit, the Cabinet Office announced it'll be seeking a judicial review over the order, arguing some of the requested materials irrelevant to the inquiry. The decision's been widely criticised, and former Downing Street Chief of Staff Lord Barwell says people deserve to know what happened during COVID.
Lots of people will have lost loved ones in the pandemic. They have a right to answers about what the government got right, what it got wrong. The government set up this inquiry. They presumably trust Baroness Hallett, and they should trust her to make the judgment about what can be put into the public domain.
Meanwhile, Lindsay Jackson from pressure group Families for Justice says she can't understand why PM Rishi Sunak won't just release the documents.
You can't help but think, what on earth are they hiding? I can't believe he's trying to protect Boris Johnson. All we can assume is that he's in some way protecting himself.
And politics professor Tim Bales says Rishi won't be able to avoid the ghosts of past administrations.
One of Rishi Sunak's political problems is that he has tried as hard as he can to give the impression that this is a completely fresh administration, that there's no link with discredited regimes of Boris Johnson and Liz Truss. And unfortunately, this just pulls him back in.
Almost 50 European leaders gathered at the European Political Community Summit in Moldova on Thursday to discuss strategies for the conflict in Ukraine. The summit was held at a Moldovan castle just 12 miles away from the Ukrainian border, and there's concern that the country could become a future target of Russian aggression, especially if Russia gains control of Ukraine. But Ukraine's President Zelensky doesn't think that's likely. He attended Thursday's summit, where he pushed for NATO and EU membership for Ukraine and said the war won't be over until Ukraine's won.
When we'll win, the war will stop, or Russia can stop this war earlier. They can go out to their independent territory from our territory. I think that is the answer.
And while the summit's main focus was the war in Ukraine, UK PM Rishi Sunak couldn't resist an opportunity to bring up illegal migration.
Many of the challenges we face, whether it's standing up to Russian aggression, but also tackling illegal migration, are challenges that we can only really solve when we work together with other countries.
The Russian region of Belgorod came under attack again on Thursday, with 8 people reportedly injured in shelling. It comes just a week after 2 anti-Kremlin groups carried out cross-border raids on the region, and Russia blamed Ukraine for Thursday's attack. Meanwhile, 2 women and a 9-year-old child were killed in a Russian missile strike on Kyiv on Thursday morning. But the city's mayor, Vitaly Klitschko, says they're working hard to keep civilians safe.
People are very angry. It's not the war, it's genocide against Ukraine, against Ukrainian people from Russia. Safety right now, main priority for everyone in our hometown.
And NATO boss Jens Stoltenberg says it's imperative the group look beyond the war to determine Ukraine's long-term security guarantees.
We don't know when the war ends, but we must ensure that when it does, we have credible arrangements in place to guarantee Ukraine's security in the future.
The US Senate has passed the so-called Biden-McCarthy Act, which means the country will manage to avoid a damaging debt default. It passed Congress and the Senate with the help of Democrat votes. In fact, only 17 Republican senators voted for the bill. The measure now goes before US President Joe Biden to be signed into law ahead of Monday's deadline. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who helped strike the long-anticipated deal earlier this week, says he's happy the Democrats are voting yes and now going to start pushing for more spending cuts.
So this is great. I think it's wonderful that they voted for it because they are now on record. So they can't sit there and yell, this isn't good. So I'll bring something back tomorrow. Let's get the rest of the IRS agents. Let's cut more because we are in a big debt.
Still to come on the Smart 7, Alonso's raring to go and Schofield speaks out. Right after this. Welcome back.
The Spanish Grand Prix kicks off this weekend in Barcelona, and Red Bull's Max Verstappen will be hoping to pick up his 5th win of the season and 2nd consecutive victory in Spain. But he's going to be facing stiff competition from Aston Martin's Fernando Alonso. The Spaniard's been having quite the season. He currently sits 2nd in the drivers' standings behind Verstappen, having secured podium finishes in 5 of the past 6 races. And he says he's excited to race in his home country.
I feel always in Barcelona this energy from the fans and a lot of obviously attention to myself and a lot of expectations as well this year because the car is performing well. So let's see what we can do, if we can give a good show on Sunday. And yeah, hopefully the car keeps performing well here.
Philip Schofield finally broke his silence on Thursday night after a non-stop barrage of tabloid headlines since he quit this morning. He told The Sun in an exclusive interview that he was not a groomer and apologised to the young man at the centre of the scandal. He also says the relationship began when the runner on This Morning was 20.
I am deeply sorry. And I apologise to him because I should have known better.
He also spoke to BBC Breakfast, who will air the full interview on Friday morning. It comes as ITV have instructed a barrister to carry out an external review of events at the channel. He told of his regret over lying to his co-host Holly Willoughby about the affair.
The last time we had a conversation was when I texted, this is after the statement last week, don't reply, you're probably not allowed to, but I am deeply, deeply sorry that I lied to you.
Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan's back for its 4th and final season, and it looks set to be the best one yet. The new series follows Jack as he becomes the acting deputy director of the CIA and is tasked with uncovering internal corruption. His latest mission takes him face to face with drug cartels, terrorist organisations and a domestic conspiracy. It all kicks off on Prime Video later this month, and it sees John Krasinski return to the title role for the last time, so mark your calendars.
So what are we getting at?
Convergence.
The fusing of a drug cartel with a terrorist organization. They can move anything. Humans, weapons, suicide bombers. Unlimited resources paired with undying hatred.
Not on my watch.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world.